Good evening. My name is Tara Moscopoulos, or you can call me by my roller derby name, which is Terra Incognita. When I say roller derby name, I mean the subculture of roller derby that has taken over suburban housewives' lives for the last 5 years. This is not your mother's roller derby. This is not the roller derby we used to watch on Sunday mornings and in the 70s, where there were a lot of clotheslines and fights and jumping the rail and illegal behavior. This is roller derby that is a sport. This is considerate athleticism and something that we are very proud of, and that I definitely want to exhibit an interest in. In order to understand what I mean by roller derby and what I mean by it being a sport, I have to explain how the game works. Each roller derby bout, and it's appropriately called a bout because it's really a fight, consists of 2 halves of gameplay with a 30-minute halftime in between. In each half of gameplay, there's what's called 2-minute jams, and jams are where the strategy happens, where the play happens, where you'll see all the action taking place. Now, you'll have 2 opposing teams. Each team is required to field 5 players. Each player has a specific duty. The first player that's assigned is the jammer. Now, the jammer is typically an agile skater, a fast skater. This is a person that's going to be responsible for scoring points. You can see a jammer and tell who they are. They'll be wearing a helmet cover with 2 stars on either side. The next person that's assigned is a pivot blocker. Now, a pivot blocker is a blocker like the rest of the girls, which you'll hear in a minute, but the pivot blocker is responsible for the speed of the pack, and that's important in strategy to keep your pack slow or fast depending on how fast the jammer's going. Now, the rest of the girls on the field are blockers, and the blocker's job is basically to prevent the jammer from scoring points in however legal way it is. Now, what happens with a typical jam is the girls will line up on lines that are demarcated on the skating floor. Now, the first line is the pivot line. The pivot line is where the pivot blockers line up and the blockers line up. That's where they have to be in position before the whistle blows. Now, approximately 20 feet behind that is the jammer line. That's where the jammers line up before the whistle blows. So once everybody is in their position, the referees will blow the first whistle, and that tells the pack, which is the pack of blockers, to start skating. They start skating, and once they get their last blocker past that line that they started on, 2 whistles blow and the jammers can start. Now, this begins the jam. The jammers start to rally for position and start skating around the track until they get into the pack. Now, their job on this first pass is to be the first person to get through. Now, the first person that gets through, the first jammer that gets through the pack without scoring any penalties, gets what's called lead jammer status. Now, a lead jammer gets the privilege of being able to call off the jam before the 2-minute whistle, which is it's strategically important. Now, this first pass doesn't count for anything except the ability to score points. You have to make it through this pack, that first trip around, in order to be eligible to score points. So if a jammer gets through and the blockers from the opposing team stop her from getting through, she's never able to score points. Now, if she does get through and breaks through the pack, she has to skate around the track, come back in, and pass blockers from the opposing team, and she gets a point for every blocker that she passes. This game has point spreads in the hundreds. It's very difficult. It sounds easy to skate around a track full of women, but it's not so easy when you have to pass women whose sole job is to knock you down. There are penalties involved with this. If you hit somebody in the head, for instance, if you clothesline somebody, if you kick somebody, if you trip somebody, these are all penalties that can be worthy of expulsion or suspension from the sport. We take it very seriously. Safety is our #1 concern, therefore the myriad of penalties you can assume. Injuries are very real. A roller girl will be glad to show you all of the bruises and all of the pains that they've gone through to achieve where they are, but you have broken bones, you have broken noses, broken legs, broken ankles. We've had 2 in the last year. The shelf life of a roller girl is approximately 6 seasons before they decide to retire, and it's usually because of a medical problem. Now, you can compare that to a football player whose shelf life isn't much higher. Each of you, I encourage you to research this and go out and see about. It's a lot of fun. It's an experience, and you actually get to see the hard work that we put forth as women and as a nonprofit organization to raise money for different charities. I encourage you, go out and see about something you'll never forget. Thank you.